let's do one more of these matching games here as a sketch. And excuse me, this one kind of has a whole bunch of stuff going on here. We have 3 corsages from 4 types of flowers. Each must include exactly 3. 9 flowers this, 1 from each of the 4 types, at least twice as many roses. Okay, there's a lot of information here. And it will take just a moment to kind of like parse through it and sketch some of this stuff out. But one thing that I just wanted to highlight before we get into the sketch is that, I did a terrible job snipping this, but notice something here. On the actual test, if you had this particular game and you look down at the questions, we've got a whole bunch of questions here, right? 6 through 12. That's a lot. That would indicate to you this would probably be a game that you'd want to try to play out. Because even though this might take some time to set this up and solve, but once you've done that, you've got all that groundwork laid, then you've got a whole bunch of questions that can benefit from the time that you spent working that out. Okay, so I just kind of a little pro tip there, just as a heads up, is that if you're taking the actual test, it does bear mentioning that any game that has a lot of questions with it is usually something you probably want to tackle. Okay, but let's go ahead and look at this and see how this goes. Now, we are dealing with a matching game because it looks like the players that we have are 4 different things. We've got 4 types of flowers, G, O, R, and V. And then we've got these 3 corsages, each has to contain 3 flowers. So it's not distribution because once we've placed, say, G somewhere, it doesn't mean we can't use it again. In fact, we'd have to because there's 9 different flowers we have to do and only 4 different types. But it's also not, the order also doesn't matter because we're not saying which has to come first, second, or third. So let's just do this. Here's what we've got. The pieces we have are these different flowers. We have G, O, R, and V. Gorv. Okay? And then we've got 3 different corsages, and I'm just going to just number them. Corsage 1, corsage 2, corsage 3. And it says each of those has to contain exactly 3 flowers. So I'm just going to put 3 little slots right below each one. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, whatever. Okay? All right, so that just tells me I've got 9 spaces that I need to fill with these letters here. Now, let's see what the rules are. It says we have to at least 1 flower from each of the 4 types, so we have to use all. So I'll put rule 1 is we've got to use all the flowers. Okay, I can't leave anybody out. Rule 2, at least twice as many R's as O's must be used, at least twice as many. So that means I got something like this. The number of R's has to be greater than or equal to twice the number of O's. Okay, it looks like 20, but you get the idea, right? I'll just put there. Let's say whatever. Orchids. Okay. And then what do we have here? What are the other specifications? Let's look at this. Rule 3. Corsage 1, it looks like we have a rule for each one. So corsage 1, what are we saying about this? Exactly 2 types of flowers. Okay, so that means I've got 4 different types. I'm allowed to use 2 of them, but not 3. So that is going to indicate that I'm going to have a repeat of at least, there's going to be 2 of one thing in rule 1 and then something, corsage 1 and then something else. Okay. But again, they didn't really specify what types, so can't really put anything in right now. Corsage 2 has to contain at least 1 rose. Has to contain at least 1 rose. So I'll just pop that right in there right now. Oh, that was a terrible R. Oh my gosh. It's getting sad. Never update your software drivers for your tablets. Just learning this the hard way. Okay, corsage 3 has to have at least 1 G, but no orchids. Okay, so I'm going to put that as G and no O. So I'll put a G in there. And I might even make a note on the side to myself. No O is allowed here. And then, okay. And then what? And that's it. And then we have, just to to clarify for rule 1, since we know it has to be 2 types, I might just put something like that. I might put 2 types just as the side to rule 1. And there we pretty much have it. I mean, there's nothing much more that I can put in here, right? I don't know. I know I have to have 2 types in 1, but I don't know which ones. I know I can't put an O in here, so that I guess I could maybe sketch out something like this. I know an O has to go, at least 1 O has to go either in corsage 1 or 2, right? If it's not allowed in 3, and we have to use all of them. So there's that. V is a floater. There's no rules about V anywhere, so I could, put those presumably anywhere I wanted. But that's about all that I can do. Okay, I actually kind of want to just take a moment real quickly. I know I said I was just going to do the sketch, but maybe I can pause this and I want to maybe work through one problem. Hold on, let me pause it. Actually, before I do so, let's just do this. Scroll down here again, take a screenshot, and go ahead and try these. Right? But I want to just, and then if you've done that, then avoid the rest of the video because I want to work out just one example problem just to I'll see how this goes. All right. Okay, I just wanted to real quickly go through two problem types that are very common on sort of matching games. And that is asking about the maximum total number of any particular piece that you can play. All right. So let's just explore 7 and 8 both involve this. I'll try to do this rather fast. But look at this here for a second. Maximum total number of R roses that can be used in the 3 corsages is 1. All right, well, just before we start going crazy on this, just think about this. We know that we have 9 slots in total, right? So we have 9 slots, and I know that I have to use all of the different types of flowers, right? So that locks us into 4 right there out of those. So 4 are used up, and I got 5 left. Okay, you with me so far? All right. Well, out of those 4, the original 4, one of them is a rose. So hypothetically, we could have a maximum of 6, right? If I did the original 4 and then all the remaining 5, I also put as roses, that would get me to a max 6. So I know that I can't have 7 for sure, right? But I could potentially have up to 6. And here's what you would do. This might seem like it's time consuming, but it really isn't too bad. And that is, can I play this? Can I play 5 roses in there without breaking any of my rules? Let's just see. I'm just going to do a hypothetical here. Let's put it over to the side so I don't mess up my master sketch. Well, let's just try this for a second. 1, 2, and 3. So then let's see. We know that we didn't have any rules for 1, but for R, we had to put a rose here, and I had to put a G here. Let's say I put my O over here, and then, I don't know, my V goes here, whatever, doesn't really matter. And then I want to now, so I put my original 4. If I fill everything else with roses, do I break any rules? Let's see. Oh, actually, yes, I would. Hold on. Let's escape that for a second. Because remember, I gotta have 2 different types of things here. So I'm gonna put roses in here. I'll put rose, rose. Let's say V, rose, rose, rose. Do I create a problem? Let's quickly go through our rules, right? Okay, 2 types of flowers for 1, that's fine. Rule number 2 has to have a rose in it, that's fine. Rule 3 is it can't have an O in it, that's fine. We didn't break any rules. We're good. The correct answer is 6. Okay? Now, on the same thought, let's go ahead and try this one. That's very important on this test that you're not overthinking it, right? If I'm asked for a maximum, start with the largest number and work your way down. If it turned out that we did have a contradiction trying to place 6 things, well then you try 5 and so on. If you're running out of time, just take a guess. It's 5 and move on. Okay? But let's try this one. If corsage 1 has 2 orchids in 1 rose, okay, let's try this for a minute. And what is the maximum total number of violets in the orchid? Okay, so we're interested in how many max number of violets in the remaining all 3. Okay, so let's try this. They filled out corsage 1, 2 orchids and 1 rose. Okay, so we're done with 1. And it didn't break our rules, right? It said that we have to have just 2 types in 1, which we did. But now, just very importantly, look at rule 2. Oh, actually, for this, we know there's an R in there. We know there's a G in here, too. So if you think about it, we have 4 slots left to play with. Right? So 2 remaining flowers can go in there, and 2 can go in here. Okay? So far, so good. Now, the question is, how many of these could be violets? What's the maximum that we could do? You might be tempted to say all 4, right? We just put 4 violets in there, and that would be answer choice D. We know for sure it can't be this one. But let's just test this real quickly. Rule 2. The number of roses has to be at least twice as many as the number of orchids. We've got 2 orchids, so we have to have at least 4 roses. So I know that I'm going to have to fill in those 4. I don't know exactly where, but 2 of them at least have to be roses. You with me so far? Hopefully. Okay, which means that I've only got 2 remaining free slots to use. I arbitrarily just kind of fill up that one, but whatever. That means the maximum that I could do for violets would have to be 2. The answer is B. Point here is running long. Point here is don't freak out over maximum. Just think about what the rules we had. It's usually that you've got to place everything. So that back to here, right? We had 4 things. We had 5 things left to play with. and then out of those whatever remaining slots that you have after you've filled in info from the question, how many of them can be used to fit whatever piece we were interested in. So it turned out for number 7, we could have fit an additional 5 roses after we placed our initial 4. And then for 8, given that information of filling out number 1, we knew that we had, out of the 4 slots left, 2 maximum of them could be used for violets. All right, hopefully that was helpful.